Ethiopia, or at least the administrative region of Tigray, officially announced a new border, or it came up with a document outlining the borders of that particular region. And according to the statement, the official statement, which was published in newspapers everywhere in the country, it took more than 3 years to prepare that map, meaning that the drawing of the map started in 1995, at least. Production of the new currency of Ethiopia. The new currency was introduced on the assumption that the older currency had a map of Ethiopia embossed in the currency, which included Eritrea as part of Ethiopia. Now, the new currency was introduced with a new map of Ethiopia. The new map of Ethiopia does not incorporate the new administrative map of the Tigray region, which was done since 1995 up until 1997.
David Copley from Defence and Foreign Affairs Daily. Now that the accords seem to be in the offing, will Eritrea stop funding and supporting the Oromo Liberation Front and the EPRP and other internal Ethiopian groups?
Give an answer to what I've understood to mean that 1997 was not the beginning of the conflict, as I have indicated in my introductory note. Observers who closely follow developments in the region would clearly see that 1997 was probably the time when the government of Ethiopia, or at least the administrative region of Tigray, officially announced a new border, or it came up with a document outlining the borders of that particular region. And according to the statement, the official statement, which was published in newspapers everywhere in the country, it took more than 3 years to prepare that map, meaning that the drawing of the map started in 1995, at least. Why would an administrative region in one of the regions of Ethiopia redraw international boundaries and start drawing boundaries without even the consent of the people who are concerned, the people of Tigray, the people of Ethiopia, and most of all, Eritrea and its own people? Now, we've been talking about the border issues for so many years before 1997. We had established committees at the regional level on the administrative areas on our borders or common borders. We finally formed a high-level commission involving the defense, security, and political institutions of both governments to find a solution to this issue. The Ethiopian government consistently was saying that it has not completed its study or research on the border between Eritrea and Ethiopia. One very paradoxical development at that time was the introduction of the new currency of Ethiopia. The new currency was introduced on the assumption that the older currency had a map of Ethiopia embossed in the currency, which included Eritrea as part of Ethiopia. Now, the new currency was introduced with a new map of Ethiopia. The new map of Ethiopia does not incorporate the new administrative map of the Tigray region, which was done since 1995 up until 1997. There was a clear contradiction on the approach of dealing with the border issue. There was no conclusive position made by the Ethiopian government when we had a number of committees working together to bilaterally and amicably find a solution to the problem. 1997 was the time when there were incursions, organized incursions of regular troops crossing the border, dismantling administration, and posting their own administrations. That triggered the problem. We did not overreact. We didn't react at all. My first reaction was to write a letter to the Prime Minister asking him to use his wisdom to refrain from using force to solve problems. And that was public at the time. That kind of using force to resolve the border issue continued. In 1998, January, again, another incident happened where troops had to move in, dismantle an administration in the southernmost tip of our country, and then impose their own administration. We complained, and we called for the Joint Commission to find a solution to that problem. It was not possible because we were told that the government and its institutions are working on a new document and trying to clearly identify where the borders of the two countries lie. We were waiting with patience. Unfortunately, things deteriorated. The government moved more to impose policies of repression dismantling administration, removing populations from their village, which I think at the end of the day, 1998 provoked a reaction. And that reaction was not an overreaction to my understanding. We tried to show restraint, but again, the fact that the Parliament of Ethiopia on May 13th announced or declared war was what internationalized the issue. We didn't even at that point want to have the issue out of a bilateral engagement. I again called on the Prime Minister, asked him what the wisdom was to go to the Parliament, which doesn't know anything about the situation and the events, to declare war. It could have been resolved quietly, bilaterally, without making too much fanfare. Unfortunately, the choice of the government of Ethiopia was to declare war using the Parliament as a vehicle. And that was when the attention of the international community was called at the conflict. I hope I have tried to go beyond what I understood to the question and answer our position as far as 1997 and the incidents are concerned. The second point was...
Do you see this? I understand what happened prior to 97 and 97, and I respect that. But do you see this as well as when this conflict started erupting, that the two governments, that your government and the government, Ethiopia's government, could not resolve this in part because you were so close at one point that it's a fight in the family at all?
I don't know if I have an answer to that, but again, I have tried to give an explanation of the events prior to 1997 and after 1997. How that was influenced by the intimate relationship we had, I don't know.
David Copley from Defence and Foreign Affairs Daily. Now that the accords seem to be in the offing, will Eritrea stop funding and supporting the Oromo Liberation Front and the EPRP and other internal Ethiopian groups?
I would be dealing with that question with the assumption that you're saying we are supporting the movements you mentioned. We are not supporting them. Our policies towards these organizations will not change the situation in Ethiopia in any way unless there is an internal circumstance that would be influencing the government, opposition political groups, and external intervention might not mean much. These groups have been there all the way. The Oromo were there 1995. After 1995, we worked hard. We worked together with the TPLF to bring about the involvement of the OLF in the transition. And after the transition, unfortunately, that did not work. The relationship fell apart, and the OLF withdrew, and that was it. The opposition groups everywhere in Ethiopia, in the Afar region, to mention. In fact, 1997, when Ethiopian troops had to move into Abadime, it was in hot pursuit of what they called was an opposition armed group in the Afar region. And we were asked to collaborate with the government to cordon that group that was fighting the government in the Afar region. The Somalis have been there fighting all the way, even though the events in the Ogaden were camouflaged or overshadowed by the problems in Somalia proper. These things have been there. The question now is not the military support these people are getting. It's a political solution that is required to allow the participation of all groups in Ethiopia, Oromos, Amharas, Tigrayans, Somalis, Afars, and other groups. Has the government been successful in doing that? This is not my business to comment about. Is the government willing to deal with these issues in a manner that will contribute to the stability of Ethiopia? Again, this is a business of the government in Addis Ababa. It's not our business to get involved in this matter. Practically, people might assume that it would benefit Eritrea to support these groups militarily at this point in time. We have said whatever we do, whatever we give in terms of moral support to these people will not change the reality in Ethiopia unless there is a situation which guarantees or warrants that a change should come by opposition forces or the government for that matter. Thank you.
Paul Orson with CNN International. What is it that makes you cautiously optimistic? And do you think the Prime Minister of Ethiopia now works more closely with the Parliament to prevent things from becoming undone?
Well, I think we have a justifiable reason to be cautious about this matter. When the framework agreement came about, it was a general document with a number of issues that were ambiguous to our understanding, and we had to ask questions, and I think it was fair to say also that Ethiopia had reason to ask questions. The government in Ethiopia did not even raise questions at that moment. It readily accepted the document. We said we need time, we will have to ask questions because it was a general document. Now, leaving aside the developments of the last 12 months until the summit was held in Algiers, the modalities for the implementation clarified a number of issues. And we felt it was logical to accept the modalities. We already had accepted the framework in February, but again, the summit brought a document that clarified a number of issues and made it possible for both of us to see through the modalities that the implementation will take place in a clearly defined time frame and procedures. Now, finally, the OAU, the Algerian government, the United Nations, and the United States government brought in their experts, military, legal, political, and technical experts, to see that they produce a document. They called it the technical arrangements. The technical arrangements document has not left any stone unturned, to my understanding. It talks in detail. It's a very clear document. It won't give Eritrea or Ethiopia any room for maneuver. The first minute I was handed over the document, it took me about 10 minutes to read the document, and I said, well, this is almost a perfect document, and there is no room for maneuvering, asking questions or demanding clarifications on any issue put in that document. I refrain from saying I accept the document because politically or as a matter of courtesy, I will have to say I will study the document with my experts and come back to you with an answer. I had to take time and go sleep for about 2 hours and come back again to tell the delegation that we officially have accepted the document. There was no reason to delay. We have 3 documents: the framework agreement, the modalities of implementation, and the technical arrangements, which includes details of implementing the arrangement. Now, Ethiopia is said to have asked time to study the document. They have put a number of questions. I don't exactly know the content of those questions. They still have not come up clear on their acceptance of this technical document. And that warrants a cautious optimism, in my opinion.